Hi, my name is Jack, and today we're going to look at another horrific case of Richard Ramirez. Today we're talking about Richard Ramirez, aka Night Stalker, who for several years terrorized California by entering random strangers' homes, brutally murdering his victims for no reason at all. Let's find out what the reason was, shall we? Let's go back to Richard's childhood. Richard Ramirez entered the world in 1960 in El Paso, Texas, as the youngest of 5 siblings. Growing up, he often roamed the streets, indulging in marijuana to escape his reality. To fuel his drug habit, he resorted to robbing shops, apartments, and unsuspecting passers-by. His turbulent upbringing was marked by frequent beatings from his father, resulting in 2 head injuries and epilepsy until he reached 17. His cousin Miguel, a Vietnam veteran, introduced him to the horrors of war, sharing disturbing tales and gruesome photographs depicting torture. Witnessing Miguel fatally shoot his own wife during a heated argument deeply traumatized Richard, leading him to withdraw into himself and eventually drop out of school. Subsequently, Ramirez immersed himself further in a life of delinquency, spending excessive time on the streets, indulging in marijuana, LSD, and delving into the occult. His criminal record commenced in 1977 with juvenile detention for minor offenses, followed by probation for marijuana possession in 1982. He later relocated to San Francisco and then Los Angeles, where cocaine addiction fueled his involvement in burglaries. A car theft charge in 1983 landed him behind bars for a year. Notably, Ramirez's personal hygiene was notoriously poor, and he suffered from severely decayed teeth. On June 28, 1984, Ramirez broke into the home of Jenny Winkow, a 79-year-old woman he had raped, stabbed, and left for dead. It was the beginning of a series of murders that horrified the West Coast for more than a year. 9 months following Winkow's murder, Ramirez struck once more, viciously assaulting 3 young women, resulting in the deaths of 2. A mere 10 days later, he claimed the lives of Vincent and Maxine Zazzara, followed by William and Lily Doy. In the ensuing months, he continued his spree, claiming a dozen more lives, prompting the formation of a specialized police task force, which included units from the FBI to hunt down this merciless killer. Gathering information from multiple survivors, the police constructed a composite sketch of the perpetrator. Ramirez's face was plastered across all major publications in Southern California, garnering widespread media attention. Alongside the composite sketch, investigators discovered an abandoned '76 Toyota station wagon, believed to be the Night Stalker's vehicle. Despite most of the car being devoid of fingerprints, authorities managed to uncover a solitary readable print from the interior. On March 17, 1985, Ramirez attacked 22-year-old Maria Hernandez outside her home. He shot her before entering her home. Inside was 34-year-old Dale Okazaki, whom Ramirez immediately shot and killed. Hernandez survived. The bullet ricocheted off the keys she was holding as she picked them up to defend herself. An hour after Okazaki was killed, Ramirez struck again in Monterey Park. He pounced on 30-year-old Tsai Leon Yu and dragged her out of her car and into the road. He shot her several times and fled. A police officer found her still breathing, but she died before paramedics arrived. The 2 attacks, which occurred on the same day, attracted media attention, and in turn caused panic and fear among the public. The media dubbed the attacker, who had long curly hair, bulging eyes, and wide-set rotten teeth. On March 27th, Ramirez shot and killed Vincent Zazzara, 64, and his wife Maxine, 44. Miss Zazzara's body was mutilated with several stab wounds and a T-shaped carving on her left breast, and her eyes were gouged out. An autopsy determined that the mutilations were inflicted posthumously. Ramirez left footprints in the flower beds, which police photographed and filmed. It was virtually the only evidence the police had at the time. Bullets found at the scene matched bullets found in previous attacks, and police realized there was a serial killer on the loose. Vincent and Maxine's bodies were discovered at their home in Whittier by their son Peter. By this time, a police investigation was underway in several counties. Law enforcement worked through the entire month of April without any new attacks by Ramirez. 2 months after the murder of the Zazzara couple, Ramirez attacked a Chinese couple, Harold Wu, 66, who was shot in the head, and his wife Jinwoo, 63, was beaten, tied up, and then brutally raped. For unknown reasons, Ramirez decided to let her live. Ramirez's attacks were now in full swing. He left behind more clues to his identity, and the media dubbed him the Night Stalker. Survivors of his attack provided police with a description of a tall, Hispanic, and long-haired man. On May 29, 1985, Ramirez attacked Malviel Keller, 83, and her disabled sister Blanche Wolfe, 80, beating each with a hammer. Ramirez attempted to rape Keller but failed. Using lipstick, he drew pentagrams on Keller's thigh and on the bedroom wall. Blanche survived the attack. The next day, Ramirez bound, raped, and sexually assaulted 41-year-old Ruth Wilson and locked her 12-year-old son in the bathroom. Ramirez punched Wilson once, then tied her and her son up and left. 3 other women were killed in June and July. 2 had their throats slit, 1 was beaten to death, and the homes of all 3 were invaded. On July 5th, 16-year-old Whitney Bennett survived being beaten with a tire iron. On July 7th, 63-year-old Linda Fortuna was attacked and Ramirez tried to rape her, but was unsuccessful. On July 20th, he struck twice again. In Sun Valley, he shot and killed a 32-year-old Cheetat Asawaham man, and his 29-year-old wife, Sakima, was beaten and forced to perform oral sex on him. Ramirez then collected valuables and left. Later that day, a Glendale couple, 66-year-old Maxon Knighting and his wife Layla, also 66, were shot and their bodies mutilated. On August 6th, Ramirez shot 38-year-old Christopher Peterson and his 27-year-old wife Virginia in the heads. Miraculously, they both survived. On August 8th, Ramirez attacked a Diamond Bar couple, fatally shooting Ahmed Zia, 35, and then raped, sexually assaulted, and forced Zia's wife, 28-year-old Suu Kyi, to give him a blowjob. The description of the assailant is consistent with previous ones given for the sudden killer. Ramirez then left the Los Angeles area and shot and killed a 66-year-old man in San Francisco on August 17th and shot and beat his wife. The wife survived her wounds and was able to identify her attacker as the Killer from police sketches. Since the sudden killer no longer fit the attacker's modus operandi, the media rechristened him the Night Stalker. The next big break in the case came on August 24, 1985. Ramirez drove 50 miles south of Los Angeles to Mission Viejo and broke into the Mediterranean Village apartment of Bill Carnes, 29, and his fiancée Inez Erickson, 27. Ramirez shot Carnes in the head and raped Erickson. He demanded that she swear her love for Satan and then forced her to perform oral sex on him. He then tied her up and left. Erickson snuck to the window and saw the car Ramirez was driving. She was able to give a description of both Ramirez and his orange Toyota station wagon. The teen later identified the car from news reports and wrote down half of its license plate number. The stolen vehicle was recovered on August 28th, and police were able to obtain one fingerprint that was on the car's mirror. The print belonged to one Richard Munoz Ramirez, who was described as a 25-year-old drifter from Texas with a long list of crimes that included multiple arrests for traffic violations and drug trafficking. Thanks to DNA, police now knew the name of the man who had terrorized California for more than a year. This led to one of the most dramatic arrests ever made. On August 31, 1985, Ramirez's identity was revealed to the public. Without his knowledge, Ramirez took a bus back to Los Angeles after visiting his brother in Arizona, unaware that police had identified him as the infamous Night Stalker killer. While driving to the bus station, Ramirez happened to walk into a nearby liquor store and unexpectedly noticed his picture on the front page of the newspaper. The customer started yelling El Maton, which means the killer. Ramirez walked and headed down a nearby residential street, where he noticed a woman getting out of her car. After attempting to carjack her, neighbors heard her screams and headed outside to investigate further. They immediately recognized Ramirez and formed an angry mob, knocking him down and beating him mercilessly in the street. When the police arrived on the scene, they found a bloodied Ramirez, at first unaware that this group of people had tracked down the infamous Night Stalker killer. He was taken into custody, and that night California could sleep easy. Jury selection for the case commenced on July 22, 1988, culminating in Richard Ramirez being found guilty on September 20, 1989, of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. During the penalty phase on November 7, 1989, he received a death sentence by gas chamber in California. The trial of Richard Ramirez stood as one of the most intricate and protracted criminal proceedings in American legal history. Approximately 1,600 potential jurors underwent questioning, with over 100 witnesses testifying. While some witnesses struggled to recall certain details 4 years post-crime, others remained steadfast in identifying Richard Ramirez. On August 3, 1988, a newspaper reported prison officials overhearing Ramirez plotting to shoot a prosecutor with a gun he intended to smuggle into the courtroom. Consequently, stringent security measures, including a metal detector and thorough searches, were implemented for incoming individuals. The trial encountered a setback on August 14 when juror Phyllis Singletary failed to appear in court. Tragically, she was discovered shot to death in her apartment later that day. While speculation arose regarding Ramirez's involvement, investigations revealed Singletary's boyfriend as the perpetrator, who subsequently took his own life. The replacement alternate juror was too frightened to return home. Facing over 40 charges, including 13 counts of first-degree murder, Ramirez's erratic behavior and references to Satan during the trial instilled fear in the jury. Nevertheless, they rendered him guilty on 13 counts of first-degree murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 robberies. On November 7, 1989, Ramirez received a death sentence at San Quentin Prison, where he callously remarked, "Big deal. Death has always been part of the territory. I'll see you at Disneyland." While awaiting execution on death row, Ramirez garnered attention from female admirers, some of whom expressed love for the convicted murderer through correspondence. One woman in particular formed a bond with the Night Stalker, leading to their marriage in 1996. Ramirez lived out his remaining years on death row, succumbing to cancer in 2013 after 23 years. This story has come to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and write comments, as it motivates us to make more videos for you. Also check out our other videos in the playlist. All the best.